The topic we'll cover is Agile Risk and Issue Management, how Agile teams deal with uncertainty, reduce risks through frequent delivery, and respond quickly when issues arise. In Agile, risk management isn't a separate phase. It's continuous, built into the way teams plan, deliver, and reflect. Rather than predicting every risk up front, Agile teams minimize exposure by working in short, time-boxed iterations, delivering usable increments early, and gathering frequent stakeholder feedback. This approach reduces uncertainty and uncovers issues before they grow. For the PMP exam, you should understand that Agile teams identify risks early and often during daily scrums, sprint reviews, and retrospectives. These touchpoints create opportunities to spot potential problems, dependencies, or misalignments before they turn into bigger issues. Sometimes Agile teams use spikes, which are short, time-boxed efforts to explore an unknown technical or requirement. This helps reduce uncertainty and lower risk before committing to full implementation. A key concept is team-level ownership of risk. In Agile, everyone is responsible for raising and addressing risks or impediments. Issues are made visible, often using task boards or impediment logs, to promote transparency and accountability. When a problem can't be solved within the team, it gets escalated quickly, often with help from the Scrum Master or Product Owner. The Scrum Master plays a critical role in removing impediments and facilitating issue resolution, while ensuring the team stays focused on delivering value. You'll also want to know how Agile teams handle dependencies and cross-team risks, especially in scaled or hybrid environments. Coordination mechanisms like Scrum of Scrums help manage risks that cut across teams, while hybrid approaches may blend Agile adaptability with predictive risk planning for governance. On the exam, expect scenarios where you'll need to decide how to manage uncertainty, blockers, technical risks, and team ownership of issues. Look for answers that emphasize transparency, frequent inspection, early delivery, and team empowerment. Now we'll go through 10 practice questions that test your knowledge of Agile risk practices, issue resolution, and how Agile leaders and teams stay ahead of potential problems. Let's jump into the first question in this topic. Question 111. A financial services company is developing a new digital platform using Agile. Leadership is concerned about high uncertainty and potential risks with compliance and customer adoption. The project manager wants to demonstrate how Agile practices can actively reduce these risks. Which approach best addresses risk reduction in this situation? A. Increasing backlog refinement sessions so that risks are discussed thoroughly before each iteration begins. B. Delivering early, usable increments of the platform in short iterations for stakeholder inspection and feedback. C. Piloting early increments with an internal compliance user group only and delaying broader stakeholder reviews until the solution stabilizes to avoid churn. D. Using retrospectives to capture risks as lessons learned, then applying those insights toward later iterations. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests your understanding of how Agile reduces risk through iterative delivery and frequent feedback. Agile teams minimize uncertainty not by predicting every risk up front, but by delivering working increments early and adjusting based on stakeholder input. Choice B is the best option because early, usable increments allow compliance and customer stakeholders to see real functionality in short cycles. This reduces risk by exposing compliance gaps and adoption issues while they are still easy to correct. Choice A is incorrect. While backlog refinement promotes discussion of risks, it does not actively reduce them without delivering increments for validation. Choice C is incorrect. Restricting feedback to internal groups delays broader stakeholder involvement and raises the risk of late misalignment. Choice D is incorrect. Retrospectives help capture lessons, but this is reactive. Agile risk management requires early delivery and feedback to proactively reduce risks. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 112. During a sprint review, several stakeholders raise concerns that new regulatory changes may affect upcoming work. The Agile team wants to ensure they identify risks like this earlier rather than being surprised late in development. What should the project manager encourage the team to do? A. Hold a dedicated risk workshop at the start of each release to capture and categorize potential issues. B. Ask the Scrum Master to maintain an impediment log that tracks all risks and escalates them to leadership. C. Raise and review risk continuously during backlog refinement, sprint planning, and daily stand-ups. D. Schedule periodic reviews with compliance experts to assess risks after major increments are completed. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is C. This question tests your understanding of how Agile teams proactively identify risks. Agile risk management is not about one-time workshops or end-of-phase reviews. It is about embedding risk awareness into the regular cadence of Agile events so that issues surface quickly and can be acted upon. Choice C is the best option because raising and reviewing risks continuously during backlog refinement, sprint planning, and daily stand-ups ensures that risks are identified early, monitored frequently, and addressed before they escalate. Choice A is incorrect. Risk workshops may help, but limiting them to release-level checkpoints delays identification and increases exposure. Choice B is incorrect. Having the Scrum Master own a separate risk log undermines the Agile principle of shared team ownership of risks. Choice D is incorrect. Compliance reviews are useful, but scheduling them only after increments are complete makes the approach reactive, not proactive. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 113. An Agile team is developing a new product where customer preferences are unclear and requirements are expected to evolve rapidly. The project manager wants to help the team reduce uncertainty while ensuring the product aligns with stakeholder needs. Which approach best addresses this situation? A. Clarify user stories in detail for each sprint during backlog refinement to minimize ambiguity. B. Conduct regular feedback loops through sprint reviews and customer demos to validate increments. C. Ask the product owner to prioritize the most stable requirements first to build a reliable foundation before tackling uncertain items. D. Schedule additional retrospectives focused on exploring unknowns and capturing lessons learned to apply in future sprints. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests your understanding of how Agile addresses uncertainty through frequent feedback loops. Agile teams don't try to eliminate all unknowns up front. Instead, they reduce uncertainty by delivering working increments early and validating them directly with stakeholders. Choice B is the best option because sprint reviews and customer demos create structured opportunities for stakeholders to inspect actual increments, share feedback, and guide evolving requirements. This ensures the product adapts continuously to real needs rather than assumptions. Choice A is incorrect. Clarifying stories in detail during refinement may reduce ambiguity, but over-specification cannot replace real feedback on working product increments. Choice C is incorrect. Tackling only stable requirements first defers the uncertain, high-risk items until later, which increases the chance of late surprises. Choice D is incorrect. Retrospectives provide useful insights, but focusing only on lessons learned after the fact is reactive rather than actively reducing uncertainty as the work progresses. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 114. An Agile team is working on a complex platform with significant technical uncertainty and regulatory exposure. The project manager wants risks to be transparent and to influence prioritization during refinement and sprint planning. Which approach best supports visualizing and managing risks in this situation? A. Sequence the backlog primarily by risk exposure so the riskiest items are delivered first. B. Maintain a lightweight risk register linked to backlog items and review it in sprint planning to inform priority decisions. C. Convert high uncertainty items into time box spikes and manage them as backlog stories, relying on spike outcomes instead of separate risk visuals. D. Tag backlog and board items with clear risk indicators and review these tags during refinement and planning to drive prioritization. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is D. This question tests your knowledge of how Agile teams make risks visible and integrate them into everyday prioritization. Instead of treating risk management as a separate document or meeting, Agile approaches embed risk transparency directly into team tools like the backlog and task board. Choice D is the best option because tagging backlog items with risk indicators ensures that risks remain visible and actively influence refinement and prioritization decisions. This approach balances business value with risk reduction in a transparent way. Choice A is incorrect. Sequencing purely by risk exposure overemphasizes risk and ignores value delivery, which may misalign with stakeholder priorities. Choice B is incorrect. A lightweight register is helpful, but keeping risks separate from the backlog reduces day-to-day visibility for the team. Choice C is incorrect. Using spikes addresses uncertainty but does not fully visualize or communicate ongoing risks across the backlog. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 115. An Agile team is working on a product with high technical complexity and the potential for major integration issues. The project manager wants to ensure the team has a way to deal with unexpected risks without creating a heavy upfront plan. Which approach best reflects contingency planning in an Agile environment? A. Document detailed contingency responses for each identified risk in a risk register before development begins. B. Maintain a prioritized backlog that includes risk mitigating stories or spikes to be pulled in when high-risk items need validation. C. Set aside capacity within each sprint so the team can quickly respond to risks or unplanned mitigation work as needed. D. Use retrospectives at the end of each sprint to capture risks that occurred and create new contingency actions for future sprints. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests your understanding of how Agile teams handle contingency planning without heavy documentation. Instead of trying to plan every possible risk response up front, Agile teams build contingency directly into the backlog so mitigation work can be prioritized alongside features. Choice B is the best option because incorporating risk mitigating stories or spikes into the backlog keeps risks visible and ensures mitigation is addressed in planning and prioritized when needed. This integrates contingency into normal delivery flow. Choice A is incorrect. Creating detailed contingency plans for each risk is predictive and too heavy for Agile, reducing adaptability. Choice C is incorrect. Reserving sprint capacity fills Agile, but it disrupts predictability and weakens prioritization compared to backlog-driven visibility. Choice D is incorrect. Retrospectives help capture lessons, but waiting until after risks occur makes the approach reactive rather than proactive. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 116. Several Agile teams are working on a large program with shared components. During sprint planning, one team identifies that a critical feature depends on another team's work, which may not be ready in time. The project manager wants to ensure dependency risks are addressed effectively. Which approach best supports managing these cross-team risks? A. Use a coordination forum such as a scrum of scrums to surface and align on cross-team dependencies early. B. Raise the dependency directly with the other team's product owner to negotiate sequencing outside of team events. C. Ask the product owner to defer the dependent feature until the other team delivers their component. D. Track the dependency on a shared program board and review it regularly with all teams involved. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your understanding of how Agile programs handle dependency risks. Large initiatives often require multiple teams to coordinate closely, and Agile emphasizes making these dependencies visible and resolving them through structured, collaborative events. Choice A is the best option because forums like Scrum of Scrums allow teams to surface dependencies early, align on priorities, and coordinate solutions transparently across the program. This ensures risks are managed before they cause delays. Choice B is incorrect. Negotiating directly with another product owner seems proactive, but it bypasses broader visibility and risks creating siloed agreements. Choice C is incorrect. Deferring the feature avoids the dependency instead of actively managing it, which can lead to delays and missed value. Choice D is incorrect. A program board helps visualize dependencies, but without active coordination, it becomes passive tracking rather than proactive risk management. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 117. During a sprint, a developer reports that they cannot proceed because a key testing environment is unavailable. The issue is slowing progress, and the team is unsure how to move forward. What should the project manager do to address this impediment? A. Encourage the Scrum Master to work with stakeholders outside the team to remove the blocker while keeping the team focused on delivery. B. Ask the product owner to adjust the sprint scope so the team can shift away from work requiring the testing environment. C. Facilitate a team discussion to brainstorm temporary workarounds until the environment becomes available. D. Capture the blocker in the impediment log and review it in the next retrospective to prevent future delays. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your understanding of how Agile teams handle impediments that are outside of their direct control. When a blocker arises that the team cannot resolve themselves, the Scrum Master plays a critical role in facilitating its removal while keeping the team focused on the sprint goal. Choice A is the best option because the Scrum Master is responsible for helping the team by removing organizational or external obstacles. This allows the developers to stay focused on delivery instead of getting stuck. Choice B is incorrect. Adjusting scope mid-sprint undermines commitment to the sprint goal and is not the best way to resolve an external impediment. Choice C is incorrect. Brainstorming workarounds sounds collaborative, but it often leads to wasted effort rather than solving the actual blocker. Choice D is incorrect. Tracking the issue for later discussion in a retrospective is reactive. The impediment must be addressed during the sprint, not afterward. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 118. A large project is being delivered using a hybrid approach. Agile teams are building components iteratively, while an overall predictive schedule is used to manage key milestones. The sponsor is concerned about risks that cut across both approaches. What should the project manager do to manage risks effectively in this hybrid environment? A. Conduct a detailed risk workshop at the start of the project to capture all major risks before either approach begins execution. B. Ensure agile risks from backlog refinement and impediment tracking are integrated into the program's overall risk register. C. Allow predictive and agile teams to manage risks separately, with each approach using its own tools and reporting methods. D. Establish a cross-team forum where agile and predictive leaders review risks together, but keep agile risks outside of the central risk register to preserve team autonomy. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests your understanding of how risks should be managed in a hybrid project. Hybrid projects combine agile adaptability with predictive governance, so risks must be visible at both levels. Choice B is the best option because integrating agile risks into the overall program risk register ensures that cross-cutting risks are transparent, monitored, and addressed consistently. This approach keeps agile teams empowered to surface risks while giving leadership a unified view. Choice A is incorrect. Risk workshops can help, but capturing risks only at the beginning is predictive heavy and misses Agile's continuous risk identification. Choice C is incorrect. Managing agile and predictive risks separately creates silos and prevents full visibility across the program. Choice D is incorrect. Cross-team forums are helpful, but excluding agile risks from the central register undermines governance and transparency. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 119. An Agile team is developing a new mobile app. During a sprint, a developer identifies a potential performance issue that could cause scalability problems later. The developer raises the concern in the daily stand-up. How should the team approach ownership of this risk? A. Ask the Scrum Master to document the risk and take responsibility for managing it outside of team events. B. Nominate a single team member with technical expertise to take ownership of the risk and provide updates during stand-ups. C. Discuss the risk as a team, make it visible on their board or backlog, and share responsibility for addressing or escalating it. D. Request that the product owner decide whether the risk should be tracked or ignored since it impacts business value. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is C. This question tests your understanding of Agile's principle of shared risk ownership. Risks in Agile are not managed by a single role, but are made transparent and handled collectively by the team. This approach ensures accountability and faster resolution. Choice C is the best option because the team discusses the risk, makes it visible on their board or backlog, and shares ownership for addressing or escalating it. This promotes transparency and team-level accountability. Choice A is incorrect. The Scrum Master facilitates impediment removal, but does not own risks exclusively. Choice B is incorrect. Assigning a single expert feels practical, but it undermines shared team responsibility. Choice D is incorrect. The product owner contributes business perspective, but risk ownership is collective, not limited to one role. Let's move on to the next question, if you're ready. Question 120. During a sprint, the team encounters a critical dependency that is outside their control and is blocking progress on a high-priority feature. The developers raise the issue during the daily stand-up. How should the project managers support escalation in this agile environment? A. Document the issue in the risk register and bring it to leadership at the end of the sprint for formal review. B. Ask the product owner to adjust priorities so the team can avoid the blocked work until the dependency is resolved. C. Encourage the team to brainstorm temporary workarounds and continue working without involving others outside the team. D. Ensure the Scrum Master surfaces the issue promptly in a coordination forum, such as a Scrum of Scrums, so the right stakeholders can help resolve it. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is D. This question tests your understanding of how Agile teams escalate issues effectively. Escalation should be timely, transparent, and collaborative, ensuring the right stakeholders are involved in removing obstacles without undermining team autonomy. Choice D is the best option because the Scrum Master ensures the issue is raised promptly in a coordination forum like a Scrum of Scrums. This approach makes the problem visible at the program level, engages the right stakeholders, and supports quick resolution. Choice A is incorrect. Documenting and waiting until the end of the sprint is too reactive and delays resolution. Choice B is incorrect. Adjusting priorities may avoid the dependency, but it sidesteps solving the underlying issue. Choice C is incorrect. Brainstorming workarounds may feel proactive, but it risks adding waste without addressing the root cause. Great job finishing 10 questions for the Agile Risk and Issue Management. That's 120 Agile questions mastered so far. You're building a solid foundation for your PMP exam. If you find this video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. When you're ready, I will see you in the next topic.